should never have Facebook be your website because you're on rented land. Email sits between acquisition and retention. People just want to feel like they're heard, they're understood, and that they're getting value from you. If you exist online in any way, people are going to know something about you. Make sure that the world you build is on your property, not on somebody else's that could just sweep the rug out from under you if they felt like it.
Hey, Scott, I'm super excited to have you join me for this episode.
Thanks, Samuel. I'm really glad to be here.
Most certainly. Well, every entrepreneur has some interesting story. I was looking at your LinkedIn and your job history. You worked at this current company, went back and worked in the corporate world, worked at some really, really reputable companies in the field. And now you're back at this organization and operating as the CEO. So can you share with our audience a little bit about your journey as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I mean, it's quasi-entrepreneurial, quasi-not, right? So I've never been the founder. I've always been, well, not always, but in my journey now, it's been like employee number one. That's a non-founder, right? So in that startup mode, doing everything. I mean, the best thing about entrepreneurs and startups, you have a very small team that has a really large task, and you're doing literally everything, right? And so the when you go from doing that to going to like a brand side where there is a division of labor that makes a lot of sense, like the hardest thing I had to do going to like a 1-800 contacts or a Purple was letting go of the nuts and bolts work, right? Because when you move, I always say that's the biggest leap anybody makes, regardless of entrepreneur or not, is going from a doer to a leader. Because when you do everything, there's a control aspect. It's known quantity, and there's a big trust factor. So, in terms of sort of I called it the double boomerang for a while, where I was at a university, then I worked we're at Inbox Army now, but it started as Inbox Group, and then went back to the university, and then came back to Inbox Group, which became Inbox Army, and then I literally, when I reached out to the founder last year, my words to him were, "Can the prodigal son come home?" Right? Because it's just like, I had gone out, I had lived some life, I got some awesome experience running email programs at 1-800 Contacts, Purple, Smile Direct Club. I'm like, you know what? My home is here. And so you just kind of find that fit, and I fit. It fits like a glove.
Yeah, I like your approach, prodigal son coming back. So that you must have been a great son, or they're a very loving father, right, to bring you back.
It's both, right? It's both. I'd like to say. I mean, they wouldn't have brought me back if I didn't know what I was doing. I'd like to think.
Exactly. Well, you're the king of email marketing. You've kind of lived your entire life sending a lot of emails to prospects and customers across different industries. But we've seen a lot of changes happening in the email marketing space. I mean, I think there's been some stats like, $1 to $44 or something was the return on investment when it comes to email marketing. I'm sure that's diminishing now as these platforms are getting more stricter. But what is the state of email marketing today?
Oh, man. Well, it's alive and well. I've been doing this as part of or all of my job for 15 years now. And when I came on board, it felt like, every other headline was email is dead. Email is dead. And we went, no, it's not. But it was always, now I will caveat that, but it was always written by someone championing whatever the new channel was of the time, or whatever the new platform was. I've been doing email for a long time, but I also understand that email plays a key role in everybody else's channels, and they all work together. Like, I'm not an email in a vacuum guy. I run an email agency, but I'm not an email in a vacuum guy. But going to COVID, I feel like COVID was the reawakening. Not that email was not important, but people went, "Oh yeah, holy crap, it's important." I mean, if you think about the number of emails you got in 2020 in March and April of, "Hey, we're closed. Here's what we're doing for COVID," and you went, "I don't remember signing up for that list." but because email is cost effective, you mentioned the ROI. I've seen numbers of it's $32, it's $48, it's $50. When I was at Purple, it was $437 to one.
Wow.
Well, when you sell a $4,000 mattress, it's really easy to get ROI with email, right? So you have to take it with a grain of salt. But I think the average speaks to cost efficiency. It also speaks to the value of where it sits. Email sits between acquisition and retention. It covers both, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I like to say that the channel covers much more ground than just about any other channel. Now, SMS you can lump into that as well. I always say the website you can lump into that as well, because the website serves not just an acquisition purpose but a retention purpose. Because if it's hosting where people buy, of course it has a retention and a repeat business angle. But email covers so much ground. I mean, you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
You have people who sign up for more information, they're getting email. They're not going to get a Facebook ad once they sign up on the site.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to get a Facebook ad or a Google ad saying, "Hey, your order shipped," right? I mean, that's just not cost effective for those
Mm-hmm.
channels to do that type of thing. So you have that customer experience angle, that fulfillment angle, that retention angle. Email's just not simply not going to go away. It just won't. It's too
Mm-hmm.
they always say like, "Oh, teens don't use email." I'm like, it's because they're not working yet. They're
Mm-hmm.
not buying stuff for themselves yet. Do you really want an order confirmation to come through Snapchat
Mm-hmm.
or anything like that? Like, you need that paper
Yeah,
trail.
you
And
have
as
to be
long
able
as
to
the
go look
yeah,
back.
as long
Mm-hmm.
as the paper trail value exists, email will always be there. But it's just so powerful, and when done well, just you get better ROI than that $44.
So what's not working right now in email then?
The big thing, and it's conversations we have almost every single day, but certainly every single week, is the notion of acquisition through list purchases. People
Mm-hmm.
going out and purchasing data to do email. You talked about diminishing returns. That's an avenue of diminishing. It's been true for at least a decade, but 15 years ago, you could buy a list and make money. These
Mm-hmm.
days, unless you have a really high ticket item that you're selling, the return on investment is just not there. It's exceptionally difficult to get through. And then the deliverability um, impact that it can have
Mm-hmm.
on the list that you are building organically and getting people to sign up and opt in and all those things, it can create so much damage to your reputation as a sender that it's just
Mm-hmm.
not worth it. And especially now this year, we talked about a lot of changes this year of Gmail and Yahoo coming out and requiring DMARC. And I'm not going to tell you what that means off the top of my head, but it is an acronym, ends in a C,
Mm-hmm.
but they're requiring it now to get through. And if you don't have those set up properly, they're going to start blocking you. And then they've lowered they've established and lowered the spam complaint threshold. So if you're sending to people that haven't opted in, likely going to get higher spam complaints, engagement's going to be really low. There's all these things that we're still having these conversations, and we tell people it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't work. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
work. Email is a marathon, not a sprint. So you can't skip steps. You got to build up your list the right way. And email, you don't use email necessarily to build the list. You use email to convert the list.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so let's talk about that, because I think that's a big misconception, right? Like you said, the permission-based marketing has always been the best practices, but there were crazy people that were able to buy lists and spam people, and then, of course, some of them did convert, and that those days are already over. But to really build a strong list, right, you have to do something unique and different and better to get your prospective customers to want to give up their email address. So what are some best practices to kind of really build email list?
What the big question is, what value are you going to provide, right? Is it, if you're an e-com, is it an incentive off a first purchase, free shipping, discount, free product, whatever it might be? And those are things you can test, right? You test what types of incentives get people over the finish line to just go, hey, I mean, you've seen it. Everybody sees it. You go to a site and go, hey, here's a pop-up. You hate it, but they work.
I'm a sucker
hate
for
it,
those.
but they work. There you go. They work, right? Like I sit there and say, I hate SMS, but damn it works. So it's, you gotta bring that incentive, that value to the table. If you're in B2B, is what type of value can you deliver? Is it content? Is it, it's probably something around content. You're not likely to be giving away an offer on, a first purchase, but that's up to you, right? Whatever that might be, whatever you're giving away. It's a nebulous thing to say, but what is your value prop and how are you delivering it? What's that value? I just read, and actually here, but I just read a book called They Ask You Answer. I'm not
Yeah.
getting money to talk
Marcus,
about this. It just spoke to
Marcus
me.
Sheridan.
Yeah. It
Mhm.
Give away that content, right? Give away answers. The more people feel comfortable with their understanding of you, they're going to take those steps for conversion, right? They're going to go, "Oh, this company's offering some answers. I'm going to give them my information to get more answers." And so think about again what that value prop is, what that initial value is to get them over the hump. Is it gated content? If it's gated, it has to be really good. Like, what is a really good problem that they can get solved? Like, I think about like what is a white paper that could be, we're working on one right now. It's like, hey, questions to ask if you want to do your own audit of your program, right? That's something to give away. That's a good thing to go, hey, I'm giving you some free stuff that we would do for you, but you can also do for yourself. So there's a lot of ways to do it, but at the end of the day, people just want to feel like they're heard, they're understood, and that they're getting value from you. If they get value from you, they'll give away that content. They'll give away their details.
E-commerce space, I've always given up my email address because they're giving away $10 off or 20% off for that first purchase. It's a very easy ask for people to just give up their email.
Yeah.
But I think on SaaS company website, I've seen the freemium model really work because they're asking you to sign up for free, no credit card required, and getting you to sign up for free. But they are actually just looking for your email address so they can actually get you in-app upgrade options, right? They can either use email, they can also push you to upgrading the app with some creative ways of, hiding some features that you really want. And then you're like, oh man, I got to upgrade. But that's actually a great way to do it. But I think when you talk about the gated content, which I'm also seeing as personally, I'm also getting inundated by marketers sending me a ton of emails that are not necessarily very valuable. So I'm also very, very hesitant when I see a free content offer because I'm like, hey, is this something that I can just find online on a YouTube video or some other blog post that I'm going to give up my email in the interest of them spamming me? So that is a big question. So I don't know if you've seen in your client business list, in your client book of business, that are you seeing that to be a very working strategy for B2B still, gated content?
Again, it goes back to the the level of value that you're providing in that content itself, right? If it's something that can be easily digestible or found elsewhere, I feel like put it in front of we don't do gated content on our side for the most part, right? It is, unless it's like a full on guide, but like, a lot of blog content, we're working on videos, things like that answer these questions to then, the idea is like you get them kind of halfway, 80% of the way there, and then they want to talk to you, right? Like you are the person that'll get them to the finish line, but they have a firm understanding of what they need and that they're not spending 75% of their call with you going through the basics that you can cover elsewhere. I'm a big proponent of don't make me call you, but that's just a focus group of one here. Like if I have to call you, if I can't order through an app or figure things out through email, I'm so mad. I'm so mad that I have to call you. So, but I will call you if I have a firm understanding, go, okay, walk me through these last steps. So I think, I take that. I'm sure I'm not the only one that operates that way, but I think it's something that the great thing about email is you test it, right? You test in front of the paywall, we'll call it that for lack of a better phrase, or behind the gate of, hey, to get this, we'll do this, or love what you see, let us know. Just test those things. You can't, what may work for one company may not work for you. So you can't, there's no real universal answer there. I'll say anecdotally, I've heard people are trying to get away from gated content because of, like you said, like, oh God, what now? What emails am I going to get because of this? But if you set it up in delivery and then the email that delivers that content goes, here's what to expect from us from now on, and you're upfront with it, you're transparent, and you follow what you say you're going to do, then most rational people will say, okay, I know what to expect. I'll just opt out if I get too much.
Yeah, most certainly. So obviously we've kind of touched on some of the ways that we can make email marketing work. And you also mentioned, it goes across the entire acquisition and retention strategies of your business. So what are some best way to nurture leads? Obviously, email is one of the primary means that most people have used. What are some better channels that they should be considering in addition to email
Well,
marketing?
certainly SMS to a certain extent does well. I mean, if you're sending a now, there's a cost consideration to SMS that you don't have with email for sure. I mean, it just costs a lot of money to send SMS, frankly, especially if you're doing it internationally. I mean, the
Mm-hmm.
US is cheap by comparison. The UK is 10 times as expensive as the
Mm-hmm.
US. At least, I don't know if that's changed in the last year since I was last doing it, but a year and a half since I was last doing that, but it's
Mm-hmm.
expensive overseas to send SMS. SMS is super short form. So where are you driving those people to? So you really, I mean, obviously your website can play a huge role in terms of content and the types of nurture content that you might have. Again, answering those questions that they might have before first purchase, answering those questions for if I've made a purchase, what are next logical products that make,
Mm-hmm.
that I can purchase that make my initial purchase better. My vision when I was at Purple was that I wanted somebody to have one entire bedroom out of Purple. So the mattress, the sheets, the pillows, the duvet, all of that. Like that was my vision, right? Was okay, this is the goal of my retention program is that somebody has an entire Purple bedroom. And so we mapped out with next logical product and things like that and use the data to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Direct mail is really making a comeback as well. I feel like it's I feel like when I was growing up, mail was amazing, and then you got to the point where it's like it's just nothing but crap. And now that I'm a grown up, it's either crap or bills. But the things that when you get a cool offer, I mean, the number of times I've gotten, I've made purchases from like Kansas City Steak Company, and then I get a card in the mail that says, "Here's $25 off." I go, "Oh, sweet! I'm gonna go order some steak." Right? Or things of that. And I go,
Mm-hmm.
if I got emails, I go through my emails so fast. I'm an email guy, and I go through my
Mm-hmm.
emails so fast that it doesn't always stand out. So you think about where the physical mailbox was 25 years
Yeah.
ago to where the email inbox is now. You have to cut through the clutter somehow, and email can do that. But people also use email. There is a branding
Mm-hmm.
aspect to it. I think about times when I was working at 1-800 Contacts and we sold, it was a single SKU business. It was contact lenses. And people only bought it when they're like, oh God, right, I need to do that. And so sometimes we literally sent the same email for weeks. Every week we would send the same email and they would convert from the same email, but the one we sent them 3 months
Wow.
ago, not the one we sent them this week. So people are weird. You got to catch them in the right frame of mind. They got to be ready to go. Maybe they run out of
Mm.
something, like I said, steaks. If they had sent that to me 2 weeks after I had purchased, probably wouldn't make sense. But when they sent it to me, I went, oh, yeah, I've got a holiday coming up. Let's do something special for that, or
Mm-hmm.
things of that nature. If you have an app, of course, you have push, you have in-app messaging, and the app itself can be a content delivery vehicle, and in some cases for a lot of companies it's also the storefront, right? So it can be a storefront there, it can be the website's a storefront. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, some folks have app, web, and physical locations, but you have those four owned media channels that can do a lot with retention. I don't find Sometimes I've convinced my Facebook teams in the past or my paid media teams in the past, I'll
Mm-hmm.
give them a retention list. Most of the time, they just use it for lookalikes. They're not using it for actual retention. But you have to kind of put yourself out there in those other channels where they have a relationship with you. Hopefully, the product or service has stood up to where the relationship's not a bad one. And there is, if you are a more than one purchase product, some products are a one time purchase, that you have the value to go, oh, right, let me think about if they've done this, they may want to do this at this time. And then, like I said, direct mail is huge. And there are companies that can do it really well for you.
Getting SMS is a very, very interesting thing to do if you can actually get people to commit to giving their cell phone number, but it's super hard to do in the B2B world. Have you seen anything creative that businesses doing to make that happen from a B2B perspective?
I haven't honestly seen anything that works there. I mean, I know, for example, I'll give my phone number occasionally, or if I have to. I don't like to. I mean, especially now when
Yeah.
I've gone up to CEO, the amount of times that I get cold email has gone up exponentially, I feel like. And I go, wow, all right. But SMS is an
Mhm.
incredibly intrusive channel. So people are asking to be intruded upon. So, like, for example, on the B2C side, I've seen for every 100 email subscribers you get,
Mm.
you may get 30 to 35 SMS subscribers. They have higher levels of intent. Think about it, because they are saying, yeah, really interested in you, please, for the love of God, make my phone buzz, right? So they are more likely, there's less of them, but they're more likely to convert, and they're more likely to convert more often because they are inviting that intrusion into their lives. So you need to respect that. And obviously there's stricter opt-out requirements around, and you
Mm.
have to, make sure you can't cold SMS anybody. It's flat out illegal, right? You shouldn't be cold
Mhm.
emailing people outside of the US because most countries are opt-in countries, meaning you have to get the opt-in, and the US is really an opt-out country where you can email anybody you
Mhm.
want as long as you let them as long as you let them leave. So, but SMS, because if you think about SMS in the old days, I'm old enough
Mhm.
to remember SMS costing 10 cents to receive and 10 cents to send, right? So it costs people money.
Mhm.
So they put these laws in place to make sure people don't cost people money. Email has been, at least personal email, has largely been free for at least some version, either whether you're getting it through your internet provider like AOL or Comcast or CompuServe, or I'm old enough to have been on Prodigy 1, Prodigy 1.0. That was always fun. But so it's been largely free from a certain standpoint. Really, Gmail and Yahoo and Hotmail brought it to where it was ISP,
Mhm.
internet provider agnostic. It was just separate from that. But SMS having that cost, you have that. So people in business, if they want a phone call, they'll tell you they want a phone call. They don't, the personal relationships you get, those are the people you're going to want SMS from.
Mhm.
I want to be proven wrong, but I don't see SMS as truly a B2B function, except like order confirmation, shipping confirmation, maybe appointment reminders, things of that. It's more that utilitarian piece. I'm struggling to see the marketing impact because people already hate cold email and irrelevant email on their business accounts. They're
Mhm.
more likely to be okay with it for companies they want to buy from personally. But maybe I'm wrong. And if somebody out there has the data, prove me wrong, please. I'm not one of these people that goes, well, if it's not what I know, then no. Like, I've great email marketers or testers at heart, and I've been swayed by data that I go, this shouldn't work, and oh, it works. Or this is going to work, and then it doesn't, right? So if you have the data, love to see it.
Yeah. So obviously we've kind of touched on a couple of two mediums, right? Mostly email and SMS, and certainly direct mail is one of the other ways that we can nurture. Where do you see is the trend in digital marketing? Where do you think it's headed with everybody becoming extremely concerned about their privacy and everybody wants to protect their inboxes and their mobile phones?
It's interesting because people will give away the farm if they think there's value. So there's a little bit of privacy that I feel like is protection from ourselves. I mean, I think about mail privacy
Mm.
protection from Apple, and I don't feel like, I mean, already today, spam filters block 99% of email traffic. Just think about that. Think about how much gets through, and then multiply it by 100. And you go, like, your eyes just go wide, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what? There's no way that's true, but it's true. And so, yes, privacy is becoming a thing. Well, I mean, it's always been a thing for some people. There are definitely
Uh-huh.
people that are, the government's out to get us. And, it's always my favorite when I go, do you have one of these things? Do you have one of
Mm-hmm.
these? They know where you are, bro. Settle down. But it's, I think that's where that value prop comes in, right? People are willing to give away more if there's value to be gained. It is not necessarily a quid pro quo, but okay, I'm going to give you this information about me because I'm going to get value from you. And then once the
Mhm.
instant that you don't deliver that value, or you take advantage of the relationship you think
Mhm.
you have, people will get upset, right? Like, you think about the old like love stories, like, I gave you my heart, right? And you go, all right. I mean, it's not that bad with, hopefully not that bad with companies, but that's always been there. I think
Mhm.
people are just more cognizant of it. I think people are more aware of it. And part of that is that, Apple and other folks have been putting it in front of us. Like, hey, this is how people now, I think there's a scare factor there, but hey, they track opens by doing this. And you go, yeah,
Mhm.
okay. What are cookies on web pages? Can we just accept all the cookies at some point and stop getting the pop-ups every time I show up to a site? That would be great. And I would say it's a loud minority thing. One way there's people who go, who cares, and there are other people who go, they can't know anything about me. But if you exist online in any way, people are going to know something about you. We talked about phone numbers. Like, I've put my personal phone number on enough things that businesses can call me
Mhm.
on my personal cell phone. It pisses me off, but I know how they get it. So I don't want to sound too wishy washy, but I'm kind of like, if
Mhm.
you provide value, you get over that hump, right? People are willing to give away information in exchange for value. So respect that um, exchange, and you'll get more value.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've noticed, platform like Substack is really taking a big, front and center space in a lot of marketing efforts, especially like on the B2B side. A lot of individual contributors creating content and creating a community, sometimes 200,000, 400,000 people following on Substack, which almost becoming like an email newsletter on
Mm-hmm.
its own.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen that to be an effective medium? Maybe possibly replace just the traditional email marketing?
I don't think it will ever do that, because unless your product is that, then it's enough, right? I mean, if you think about it, like, there are some products or services out there where the product is actually
Mm-hmm.
that newsletter, right? That delivery of content, that delivery of information. A lot of times, in most cases with like e-commerce, you don't want people to stay in the email. You want people to click through and convert.
Mm-hmm.
So it is about being honest about what your product is and what your value it is that you're delivering. If Substack is enough, that's great. I'm always concerned, and the
Mm-hmm.
reason email I think is still as pervasive as it is it's still an owned media. Substack is owned by Substack. If Substack went away tomorrow, what do those Substack customers do? Right? So, yeah, they're building a community, and they might say they own that community, but the instant the
Mm-hmm.
community, like if Substack went under tomorrow and just literally shut down the servers,
Mm-hmm.
what are those folks going to do? So you need to have an owned space, right? It's like you should never have Facebook be your website, because it's not, you're on rented land. You're
Yeah.
not owning your own piece of the world. So that's the only, and it's, believe me, I subscribe to Substack, people. Like, I get it. I love it. I love getting the little things. And one of my
Mm-hmm.
favorite guys I watch every day is Sandwiches of History, and he does a different sandwich every day on Instagram. And then I get the weekly email with the wrap up. I go,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I missed that one. Let me go watch that one. Like, there's tons of value there. And speed to market's great. There is time and effort and money going into owning that space. But that's the only caution I would throw out there, is like, make sure
Mm-hmm.
that the world you build is on your property, not on somebody else's that could just sweep the rug out from under you if they felt like it.
Yeah, that's a very good point, because a lot of times, when the social media platforms change the algorithm or somehow decides to kind of shadow ban you, you lose the reach you had, and then you're
Yeah.
kind of screwed, right? You don't
Yep.
ever want to be put in a place like that. So obviously there's a lot of conversations around AI, right? There's a lot of push toward adopting AI in the marketing space. So as marketers starting to make a lot of hires in the marketing department, what are some critical hires they need to start thinking about bringing in?
So AI is an interesting thing. I'm a little bit, I'm not necessarily a late adopter, but I'm also
Mm-hmm.
a lot of it is ahead of their skis. Like, I want to see it be practical execution. I want to see it, like, I envision speed to market of testing, speed to market of versioning of creative things like that, but there's going to be this huge human component. So prompt engineering, I'm not sure if
Mm-hmm.
that's a role, but it's going to be a skill set that everyone's going to need to learn as marketers, right? You're going to need to know how to, whether you're using a chat GPT, a Claude, a, was it, well, I guess Anthropic is Claude, whatever those engines are out
Mm-hmm.
there, you're going to want to build your own at some point. So having somebody who can build your own, because what's happening is everyone's feeding
Mm-hmm.
into chat GPT, everything's going to be the same, right? So the best engines out there for content, Gen AI engines for content, are the ones that is just learning about you. I don't know if you saw
Mm-hmm.
I think it was like a month or two ago,
I didn't
Reid
see that
Hoffman
one.
was LinkedIn, did an interview with himself where it was
Uh-huh.
his AI. He loaded all of his
Oh,
content into an AI
pretty
engine
impressive.
to basically be him. And it was pretty crazy how good it was. But it was like all his books, I mean, just everything loaded in. And it,
Wow.
other than being a little robotic, it got pretty darn close,
Mm-hmm.
which was
Yeah.
crazy. But again, it's because he trained his own engine on himself. He's not him and 3,000 other people. So like I said, prompt engineering and just prompt knowledge is going to be a big thing. I think data science is going to have to. I mean, there's already some AI. They've been AI elements in that forever. I think
Mm-hmm.
about like send time optimization in
Mm-hmm.
email. That's been around for like 10 years. It's now under the AI umbrella. Dynamic content has been around in email for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
It's under the AI umbrella now. Now I think it's going to get faster. It could get smarter. You could, like I said, you can learn faster, but some of these things have been around for a while. So think about how you test into it, testing is always a big thing, but AI is going to make it even more so
Mm-hmm.
because you're not just going to want to hand it over. You're going to want to prove it and you're going to want to know how to prove it out. So data science, data analytics, those are going to be roles that AI is going to affect heavily. Of course, email design to a certain extent, coding to a certain extent. I think the AI coding
Mm.
modules now can get you probably 85% of the way there. But I always say that last 15% is probably the biggest hurdle because that's the customization pieces that probably take just as long as the other 85%. But again, if it can speed up things, if it can get more efficient, that's great. But I want to see it work. I mean, I saw a case study several months ago. Company over Black
Mm.
Friday did 750 versions of emails for Black Friday through an AI that they built and trained. And I go, but how do
Mm-hmm.
you know which stuff worked? Other than looking at it going, as a whole, it went up X% over the previous year. And you go, okay, but every holiday season's different. Every season's different.
Yeah.
It's, I need to see the proof in the pudding, right? And so I'm still waiting for somebody to come to me and go, brass tacks, hey, we did this, this version did this version did that. And it's beyond just subject lines and little things like that, like, and the cost savings and everything else. So I think we're probably, I was, who was it? Somebody said that like in 5 years, like 85% of what we do manually is going to be gone. I go, I'm not there yet. I'm not, 5 years seems quick.
Yeah. But I do like, it replacing some of the mundane things that we're doing, right? Like I
Yeah.
trying to use the Omni, what is the Gmail, like the Gemini for Gmail.
Ah,
But it's nowhere near what I was expecting it. I was actually wanting to see, I have to go to each individual email, click to summarize, but I don't want to do that. I rather wake up in the morning and then say, I want to train it to say all the email where I am in the to box, where an email that is actually intended for me, that I need to see a summary of 5 or 6 email with the response pre-written and then have it ready for me to review and click send. Like that is going to help me a lot. But if I have to
that's the
go open
dream,
each,
man. That's the
yeah, but if
dream.
I have to open each email, click there and then hit summarize, I can just read myself and I don't need to summarize it because some of these emails are super easy to just scan through.
Yeah.
So we're very far away from it being extremely useful. But I do like some of these things to help us speed up some of the things that takes a lot of
Yeah.
mental capacity to process.
Right. I
Yeah.
mean, I think about reporting, right? Like how much, in my new role, I'm looking at like, okay, we have revenue over here, we have marketing over here. I'm compiling this report to go, this is what it all means. Could it just, with some training, just go, oh, here's the new month, here's year to date, here's quarter to date. And I know there's probably a tool out there that does claims to do that, There are a lot that claim to do that. I've not found the one that does it the way I want to see it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the hardest thing is AI is never going to replace, I need to see it this way. Like you said, like, oh, could you just do it every morning for everything that came in that was to me and that? It's like, could you train it to do that? Maybe.
Yeah.
But are we there yet? No. So until we are, I'm kind of like, all right, great, but don't spend your entire year's budget. Yeah.
They're charging $14 a seat for Google Apps to do the Gemini for Gmail for corporate. I didn't see to have a lot of value. I was trying to find YouTube videos giving me explanation. Their website says a lot, but it didn't really pan out to be exactly what I was hoping it would do. So yeah, there's a lot that we can talk about here. Obviously, we've covered a lot of ground here, but I have a question for you. Knowing what you know today, what advice would you give younger Scott Cohen?
I would say learn earlier how to say no. There's certainly value in reps and doing the work. A lot of my early career, I like to say, was trial by fire, which is great. I mean, I wouldn't change it, but if there's a certain point where you have to go, you don't want to get to a point where you have to cry uncle or burn out. Like, find that balance. And it took me 20 years to do it, but I'm at a point now where I can go, that's not my role. That's not my thing. And you never want to, like, I always grew up in the whole, you never want to be the guy that says that's not my job, but you can do it nicely, provided it really isn't your job, right? Like, you don't, because some of those things that should have been not my job, I did, and then it killed me. So that, I think, is the biggest piece of advice I tell people is learn when to say yes and learn when to say no. And, my meter for when to say no is probably lower than, I would say, the younger generation, who certainly knows how to say no, which is not a bad thing, provided it's productive. But I would say, yeah, that's that one piece of advice. I would say that. And then the other mantra I've had for years is from my dad and my grandmother is, if it can be fixed with money, it's not bad. So, take a deep breath if bad things are happening, but if you can buy your way out of it, even if, not if you have you may not have the money to do it, but if it could be fixed with money, it's probably not the worst thing in the world.
Very good advice, because I know sometimes people lose a relationship over stupid material stuff that could have been replaced with some money, but they can't do that with relationship, right? You couldn't buy a relationship. Some great advice. Exactly. And also I've heard many successful people say the same thing. Like, the more successful you are, the more things you have to say no to. You can't just be committing to a lot of things, because you got to be extremely selective.
But be open to learn, right? I mean, I will say that's not advice I need to give my young self, but be open to learn new things, because I got into email because I was writing the newsletters, and my boss one day came to me and said, "Do you want to do this stuff? We need you to do this stuff." I went, "Okay." And 15 years later, I'm running an email agency. So it's like, you never know what these little micro decisions might turn into in terms of career growth.
Most certainly. Well, Scott, I certainly enjoyed our conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your life lesson and your wisdom with my audience.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
If you enjoyed this video, please share it. To make sure you never miss an episode, please subscribe.